thank Jim and the family for inviting us here today to use these facilities and to provide us with a few good cows to look at. But we're going to start with a small bit of paperwork. It's a bit of work that was done by Dr. Patrick Kelly in relation to classification, longevity and fertility in different groups of animals. He selected animals that were plus 40 for fertility, and he went back and looked at the classification scores of those animals and how long they were staying within herds. So we can see from this that an animal that scores 40 in this group, scores 70 in this group of plus 40, has a chance of making 5 lactations. But we can see as the classification scores improve, the number of lactations also improve. So you're looking at an animal from 80 to 84, which is a good plus category of a first lactation animal, lasting a lactation or almost 2 lactations longer in the herds. He done the same for the fertility group of 0 to 40, and the pattern was quite similar. As the classification scores improved, the number of lactations improved as well. And he done the same for under or for up to 0, and again they weren't lasting as long in the herd, but the pattern was still the same for this fertility group, which would suggest that it's not the conformation that's taken these animals out of it, it's probably the fertility. But you can still see the trend is on an upward trend. So it's just the better functional linear traits associated with lactations and fertility groups. And I think there was a lot of work put into it. There was a lot of work with ICBF as well put into it, and it's nice to see that a good cow lasts longer. So that's the paperwork out of the way. We have a couple of cows here that I want to have a look at, just to talk you through it. All our information is gathered on a little handheld. The handheld is downloaded and the information is freely available on the database from 12 o'clock at night. So all the information on each animal, there's 22 linear traits that we score. The 22 linear traits are describing the animal, and then the classification involves scoring the animal and giving them scores. Heifers are scored between 50 and 89. Older cows are scored between 50 and 97. So just you have that range of scores for the different groups and for the different lactations. We're going to have a look at this heifer, 280. She's a first lactation animal. We've had a lot of talk about teats getting too short in recent times, and I just picked this heifer out of the herd the last day, and I just thought on teat length, when we're scoring teats, we're scoring the right front teat on all animals, and I think this girl she's maybe a little bit longer than the average, but I don't think anybody have any bother with putting clusters on her or keeping the clusters on her, provided she didn't kick them off. But Jim doesn't have kicking cows anyway, so there's no problem. She's fine. But on a classification point of view, she's a good plus heifer. She falls into that second grade of a heifer, VG being the highest, so she's a good plus heifer. She's quite an immature heifer for a 2-year-old heifer, which I don't mind. She's a heifer that's projected to give 6,000 litres of milk, and we hear it so often that it doesn't really matter what a heifer gives in her first lactation, provided she's going back and calve. I'm not so sure about that. I think these girls have cost a good bit to 2-year-old, and I think it's time they started paying us back a little bit. So I think a 6,000 kilo heifer in a spring calving herd would be very acceptable. I think she's projected about just under 4% protein. So I think she'll come in around about 500 kilos of milk solids for the year. So I think for a heifer, I think it's very good. She's not the best heifer in the herd. She's definitely not the worst heifer in the herd. I just picked her for an example of what a British Friesian type heifer is. She has a nice wide rump on her. She's good legs and feet on her. And she's a nicely attached udder. And to me, she's just a nice balanced heifer. You can see that bit of body and capacity that she's starting to develop, even at this young age, because we have to remember that our cows are ruminant animals, and if they don't have the capacity and they don't have the body, you need enough of chest width, you need enough of capacity through the front end for allow them to do what they have to do. And it's graze grass, it's store it, it's lie down and use it. And over time, we have never been able to change that. That's the way the cow works, whether it's on an indoor system or an outdoor system. That's the way the cow system works. And I think we'll move on to this other young cow here. She's a second lactation animal. I think you can see just she has developed that little bit more in her body and in her capacity. The heifer, I think they're quite similar in a lot of ways, but I think this young second calver has just developed. But I think it's her udder that's is probably the best part of her. It's really well attached in the front. It's nicely attached in the back. There's a nice ligament in it, nice teeth quality, and she's a young animal that's going to do over 7,000 litres in this lactation, and you can see where she has developed on a little bit since the heifer stage, and she's moved into a second lactation animal. It's on their other traits that I just want the cow closest to you now, this black cow. She is also a second lactation animal, but I think this is really where, I suppose, where classification comes in. She's a much stronger bodied animal, this black cow here. Her udder is still 40% of her overall score, but it's quite a sloppy udder for a second calver. The teats are really out on the outside of the quarters. I think when she springs up again, she'll be quite troublesome to milk because the teats are so wide on the quarters. She's similar production to this other cow, but I would imagine this other cow will just last a lot longer. Even though Jim did tell me earlier that the mother of this cow done 15 lactations. I'm not a betting man, but I'm not so sure this one will ever see it. I would say we might have to divide it in 4 or 5 for her to get there. But it's another little part of the whole linear scoring and classification is identifying the traits, the weaker traits and the stronger traits. And I checked up the sire of this cow, and he has a very low score on udders. So if a 15 lactation cow in one cross can give you an udder like this, I'm afraid the conformation traits and the linear traits need to be looked at more seriously, you know. Now we have another cow, and she's actually the opposite. She's a fifth lactation animal. She has what I would describe as a really good udder for a cow of her age. When you look at her compared to the second calver, her udder is going to stay there for quite a while. She's a strong cow on her legs and feet. She's a good rump cow. Maybe at this stage she's a fifth lactation, which would be a mature cow. Maybe you'd like to see her developing maybe a little bit more just in her forerib. She's just a little bit tight there in her forerib, just behind her front shoulder. But she's still a cow that's going to do close to 8,000 litres this time. So there's not too much wrong with her. Then we move on to this girl, and I asked the last group how many calves this cow had, and I was told from 6 to 9. Which is actually 10. She's twice the number of calves of this other cow. And I think we talk about capacity and dairy strength. I think this cow, for her stature, she has loads of capacity and dairy strength. We're looking at the stature of the cow, we're looking at the body depth of the cow, and for a mature animal you would like to have 2/3 of the stature, her body depth. I think this one is probably 80-20. She's 80% body and 20% daylight under her. She's averaged just short of 8,000 litres in her I think her first 8 lactations. So I mean she's been a very productive cow as well. She calved 1 year in April, and I think every other year she's calved in either February or March. So she's pretty unique in that.